Yeah, that's kind of where I want to go next with this is, how did those experiences working in worlds that were already, in some way, shape, or form established, before you got to Bethesda, or before Bethesda had the rights to develop Fallout, for instance. What is it like going and getting to create your own world after playing in somebody else's playground, so to speak?
Well, my career trajectory has been, my first game was a remake of Defender, which we were talking about Tower 2600 games. My second game was Fantastic Four, and trust me, you don't get to make a lot of things up when you're working on a Marvel IP. They're very strict, and this is even pre Disney owning them. They were still very strict. And then I go in, and help Todd and Emil and others at Bethesda, ship all those games. It's been super. One of the reasons I did this is because I just wanted to work on. I have a very deep creative impulse that over time in careers, it waxes and wanes. I was blessed to be able to, because I was originally a designer, and when I went to Bethesda, I was on the producer of the design department. And so I got to work with designers and creatives. I got to shape a lot of those games, especially through Skyrim. I spent a lot of time playing the game. There was a small cabal of main tastemakers on Skyrim. That was myself, Emil Pagliarulo, who I mentioned, Todd Howard, and Joel Burgess, who is now also departed and at a studio called Soft Brains. And we would all meet in his office and can figure out what we needed to fix on that game in the last 6 months. And it was a privilege and honor to be a part of that, right? And you can thank me for why Dragon Bones weighed so much, for instance, because I like something in the game has to be hard to carry. So he made it Dragon Bones, and that was literally got a fighting match with the lead producer of that, like a shouting match. He's like, "This is terrible." It's like, no, not everything can be that way. Anyway, um, it's they're big, they're supposed to be heavy, and there's got to be a penalty to something at some point. You can't just give the player everything they want all the time. And man, the discussions we had about stealth, and I got into big arguments about, because you can kill your companions in that game with the errant spell. And I remember going, "This is so, please, please," and the designers made me keep it in. I was like, "No, guys, this isn't gonna go over well." And you load Lydia up with 400 pounds of crap, and she falls down a hole, and she's dead, and you lose all your shit. Like anyway, it's really
We've all
cool.
been there.
Yes. Oh yeah. No. Trust me. Trust me. I lost those fights. On Fallout, I didn't lose. Fallout 4, I was the lead producer, so they had to listen to me more. Um, it's cool to work on. It's also a little scary. You're creating things whole cloth. It's a shocking amount of work. To be honest with you, that I wasn't even really prepared for. We spent a lot of time working on back history and story and making connective tissues, because I don't know if it was in this, like you'd mentioned Persona. We were talking about that,
Mhm.
and these RPGs rely on like they live and die on story. Like all the like I will overlook shitty game mechanics for hours if I'm enjoying the story. Hours
Absolutely,
in an
absolutely.
RPG, and you have to have really compelling characters, a narrative that's pulling you through. And those are also things I remember most. Like I don't remember all the rats I fought in a turn-based Fallout where I was like, "Oh my god, it took me 20 minutes to kill a freaking rat." But I remember stories and elements, and you see that to this day with the Fallout TV show being super successful, right? And that was because of that was because of not even the characters, because they didn't use canon characters, a couple, Mr. Handy, but you that setting and tone, and it was enough connective tissue and glue for Jonah Nolan and the showrunners to make an amazing series out of, right? Like,
Mhm.
and that speaks very well, because there was another movie released this weekend based on a more action oriented game, which is a fantastic game. But man, that movie's being pilloried. It is being pilloried. So I haven't seen it, so I don't like to talk about things that I haven't seen. I don't like to just read the internet and agree with every opinion they have. Trust me. I think that's a dangerous hole everyone goes down at some point in their life. But and I was really honored that Fallout had done so well, because I was nervous, because Fallout's a weird IP. So it can be persistent if you don't know what's going on in that IP. It is super weird.
I love that you organically brought up the Fallout TV show, because that's one of the things I've kind of been wondering about. Like, what is it like seeing something that you worked on get adapted in a different medium? Like, do you get, even though I know you weren't at Bethesda anymore, like, does that make you nervous? Like, think about how a whole new audience is going to get exposed to this world and to, these characters, or do you see like some connective tissue to your games that you made? Like, I know I got a little scared when the announcement was, yeah, no, this show is going to exist in our universe of the games. And I'm like, oh no, that scares me a little, because I think that's a really slippery slope. Like
Well, you've seen it done
comics and
badly.
graphic novels are one thing. I
Yeah.
think a 10-hour TV series is another entirely.
Well, you've seen it done badly so many times
Right.
with either
That's
people
true.
picking the wrong things to focus on, or not taking it seriously enough, or taking it too seriously.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.